Yeah.
Oh my goodness, look at that. She's carrying a laptop.
And Mike, and she's upward. What's going on? Are we doing something important tonight?
You ready? Hey, John.
Okay. I would like to call to order the regularly scheduled Board of Trustees for Sylvania Township, May 20th at 6 p.m.
Call the roll. Mr. Crandall? Here. Mr. Mahoney?
Here.
Mr. Genowine?
Here.
Simcoe? Here.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Anybody have any corrections to the meeting minutes of May 7th?
I do not.
I'll move approval.
Second?
Okay. Neil?
Okay, Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes. Do we have any additions or deletions to the agenda this evening?
Yes, I have a couple. I want to delete from the agenda Resolution 14059, purchase of a vehicle. That needs further review. I want to add to the agenda under Administrator, Resolution 14061, authorizing the Administrator to enter into an agreement for legal counsel. I want to add under Administrator 14062, renewal of the insurance policy. And I also want to add executive session for possible pending litigation.
All right, I'm just trying to make a few notes. Okay. Hearing of the public? Al, you want to wait?
Yeah.
Carol, you want to wait too? Okay. Zoning? Carol?
Good evening. You have before you the April zoning report. It was a pretty good month, again, in zoning. We had 50 permits for the month of April with estimated dollar value of $3.3 million. And that brings us on the year up to 96 permits and $12.5 million in value. On new dwellings, we're up to 27 for year to date. That's a almost 17.5% increase, and estimated dollar value is $6.5 million. That's almost 11.5% increase. Next page, Jim. Thank you. Zoning complaints, pretty much on even pace with last year. We had 18 for the month, 15 last year, year-to-date 27 and 28 last year. The meetings for the zoning department, we had no BZA or project plan review, no items on the agenda, and the zoning commission heard the proposed zone change on Central Avenue for the 214-unit apartment complex. And then just a few items of note. You can read those for yourself. Next page, Jim. Thank you. All good, positive things going on in the township. We had a fairly decent year last year, and it seems like we're even having a better year this year. And that's all I have, unless you have any questions.
Looks good. Looks like you've been busy.
Yep. I'm getting busier.
Thanks, Darryl.
Thanks, Joe. Next up is Greg.
Good evening. Just a few projects for your authorization to advertise for bid. The first one is Resolution 140-052. This is our annual Ohio Public Works Commission road improvement project. Consists of the streets of Gradwall, Central Park West, Cul-de-sac, High Oaks Boulevard area off of Flanders, and then a few streets off of Sylvania Metamora up at Sunbreeze Trail.
I'll offer Resolution 14-052, authorized to advertise for bids for 2014 Sylvania Township OPWC Road Improvement Project.
Second?
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Next item, recommending Resolution 14-053. This is a second resurfacing project which would consist of the Miakonda neighborhood, Fairways, Sylvan Green, just right across the street, actually.
I'll offer Resolution 14-053, Sylvania Township resurfacing project.
Second. Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Do you know the mileage on those two, roughly?
I could email that to you. I don't have it.
I just, thank you.
The next item, Resolution 14-054. This is our annual household pickup, always the Monday after Labor Day is our actual pickup, and that's on the website.
I'll offer Resolution 14-054, authorized to advertise for bids for household pickup.
Second?
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Last item I have is Mylar sheet in the trustees' room. If I could get signatures there, and I'll have that in front of the board next month for Hasty Road culvert project.
Thanks, Greg.
Thanks, Greg. Next up is the fire department with their monthly report.
Good evening. You have before you the April monthly report. The first 2 pages are our fire and EMS responses. We continue to see an increase in both the fire and the EMS. Page 2, we saw a significant increase in sick person or ill people in April. That's just a general term when they put those out. Page 4 are mutual aids. And you might as well just go to page 5 because those are the totals on page 5, Jim. There you go. During the month of April, we gave Springfield Township 11 mutual aid responses to their jurisdiction, and we received 1 from them. We are balancing that out during the year. It's usually a 50-50 or at least a 60-40 during the year that we get help from them. This is one of those odd months that we give them more help than what they usually give us. And we had 3 requests for transport units when there were no transport units available in the Lucas County system. We had Toledo transport 1 for us and Springfield transported 2. On page 5, public safety education. Due to the cold weather or fires that we had during the wintertime, we chose not to do the return to the scene. We didn't want to get the crews out in the cold weather and didn't want to get all the snow into people's houses. So we started that program again in April. We got into 120 homes, installed 11 smoke detectors, and changed 7 smoke detector batteries that were not working in the residents when the residents thought they were. So our crews are continuing to do that. They did go this last Saturday to the last fire scene on Bancroft, so I'll have a report for you in June on the May report of how many homes they got into there. Building and project plan reviews, Deputy Chief Riddick was again busy this month of May. Saw 16 plan reviews, 1 license inspection for preschool, daycare facilities, and that 1 inspection for adoptions. We held 3 public education events at the fire station, and crews did 507 commercial building inspections. Page 6 is our monthly training schedule. The paramedics are continuing to go to their 4 hours of CE down at Lucas County. We have 1 more month of June, which will be trauma month, and then the crews will take July and August off. The paramedics will anyway. In April, Mr. Salem Zindorf was kind enough to give us the Central Avenue Elementary School to practice in. So we went, Captain Smith went out with the crews and practiced commercial fire alarm response tactics, fire large buildings. Also was able to do elevator rescue because there is an elevator shaft in there, and ventilation of large buildings and electrical systems. So it was quite a month. Mr. Zindorf allowed us into that building to do anything we wanted to that building. As far as the only thing we couldn't do is bust out any exterior windows. So he was very kind enough to allow us in there for that training. The last 2 pages are 2 thank you notes. One is from a gentleman and wife who were in an auto accident. And then the last page is from a gentleman that was actually had a diabetic incident that our crews were able to render him aid at, that was at Sylvania McCord Road. So 2 nice letters there.
Nice.
Unless you have anything for me, that's it. No?
Thanks, Chief.
Yep.
Thank you. Next up is the police department with a monthly report and one resolution.
Good evening. You should have up there the monthly report. Starting on page 2, you'll see that we had just 1,222 CAD incidents for police. We handled well over 7,500 total incoming calls to the station. Page 3, I won't read all these figures to you, but you can see our traffic citations are up considerably in the second section there. Third section, you can also see that our crash reports, both injury and property damage, are up also, which justifies obviously the increased tickets. And then offense reports, burglaries were about even with year-to-date last year. Robberies were at double the pace. Domestic violences were up. Assaults were down. Those always seem to be contrary to each other the last couple of years. Identity thefts, which isn't surprising, are up about 3 times. OVIs are up. Thefts are up slightly, but overall, all the other reports totaled were down. So, and you can see calls for service up at the top. We also happen to be down, even though several of our more serious categories are up. Page 4, prisoner transport cost analysis. You'll see we're making out real well on that with assisting the city. It's definitely not costing us a fortune, and we're in real good shape that way, which speaks to us being well-staffed on day shift. That probably will change a little bit with vacation season and such in the summertime, but so far so good. Page 5, the detective caseload, 75 cases assigned in April, 53 cleared, 22 remained active. They solved 22 cases from prior months for a total clearance of 75 cases in the month of April. Page 6, the only thing of note there, you'll notice down the page a little bit for our officer that's involved in the DEA task force. They did seize a considerable amount of money. Obviously, you know that it varies on the number of officers that are involved in the arrest and the investigation, but it usually averages out to between 5 and 7% of that we actually get to be able to put into our law enforcement trust funds. Page 7, they just conducted a 6-week Citizens Police Academy. In fact, they're graduating as we speak. They're having their ceremony tonight. You can see that we're totally involved in the safety town right now. For some reason, but usually we get lots of applications at the last minute, but we're really down with applications so far for that, which occurs in June. We're wrapping up DARE at Stranahan Elementary. On the next page, you can see we continue to have a presence at our 2 middle schools, Timberstone and Arbor Hills Junior High. Under page 8, one thing you might see interesting, the 4th bullet down under the bulk currency task force. I won't read the thing, it's just a couple of sentences there, but you can see it was a good arrest in that we were able to seize, do you have it? It looks like that's something else. Okay, there we go. That we were able to seize a number of weapons, about 18 weapons, and solved a pretty big burglary case in which there were about $15,000 worth of power tools that were stolen. Speed trailer, we're starting to get the request for that. Just to give you a heads up, we've got it on Colgate right now. I don't know if that gentleman, that resident, emailed you. He doesn't ever seem to be happy, but we've had the speed trailer out there in the past and actually had unbelievable compliance with the speed limit. Due to the speed bumps and stuff, it was like 99, believe it or not, 99.5% of the people were driving 25 miles an hour or under the posted limit, but he's still not a happy camper. So just to give you a heads up on that. We got the speed trailer out there again, just to get more documentation and such. And then page 9, just some of our smaller seizures as far as monies and such for our law enforcement trust funds. And I also have a couple of nice letters, one from Epworth Church. I know that's right across the way in Ottawa Hills on Central Avenue, but every year they really like us. And they ask us to have, we usually send Jerry Coster out there on a motorcycle. They have like a display where the kids can look at the bike, they look at trucks and different things like that, and they always really are very big supporters and of emergency services and such. And we got a nice letter from them thanking us. We also got a nice letter from Suburban Federal Credit Union, which most of us probably don't even know where that is. It's a little credit union on Elmer Drive as you just turn off of Reynolds there. It's very small, but there's been some past issues there, and so we continue to heavily extra patrol it, make drive-throughs, and we got a nice letter that they really appreciate our effort doing that. Something we commonly do if we've got a problem area and such. And with that, do you want me to turn it over to you? Okay. I ask for, actually, you know what? I forgot that sheet. I better give you the resolution number here.
On the screen.
Request review of Resolution 14-060, authorizing the Assistant Administrator to execute safety town contracts for the teachers and aides down there.
I'll offer Resolution 14-060, authorize Assistant Administrator to execute safety town contracts.
Second.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
And with that, I have nothing further, if you have any questions or anything.
I do have a quick question for you. With the speed trailer, are you only using it when somebody requests it, or do we set it, just go out randomly? Like, I've had a couple calls on Elmwood about the speed.
Okay.
Is that
We
something
usually do it in response to a
Okay.
request or somebody just advising us there's a problem.
Okay.
This guy in Colgate didn't actually even request the trailer, but we do it for a couple of reasons. Partly a deterrent, but
Okay.
more importantly, a lot of times, there is no problem there, and at least no identified problem. Now granted, the speed trailer sitting there is going to slow some people down, but at the same time, it collects data so that we've got some documentation in the future if there's complaints or what. But generally, we've got a few areas that we'll put it out on regularly because we know those are problem areas. Elmwood was kind of in response to the thing that you guys are going to deal with on June 3rd, too.
That's been an issue. I've had a couple of calls on that, so I'll have somebody call you.
Yeah, just either myself or Community Affairs, but we're looking for those calls, and we'll get it out there right away.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you, Chief. Under Administrator, I'd like to do the first two resolutions I talked about earlier for the additions. The first resolution, as you know, we have a contract with the Lucas County Prosecutor's Office to serve as our legal counsel, and there are certain instances where the prosecutor would have a conflict of interest where he might be representing the county commissioners and couldn't represent us. So in those situations, we would like to hire outside counsel. I have a in front of you where we have discussed this with Sheila McAdams, and she's willing to be our outside counsel on an as-needed basis for $180 an hour. This resolution authorizes me to enter into an agreement with her for that rate and for as needed.
Do we have any cap on this, or, I mean, do we expect it to gain any significant?
There is not a cap on it, but anytime you would use her, I would go to you first, and you would authorize me to go ahead and then retain her for whatever the issue is.
Okay.
So ultimately, you will know when we're using her or not.
Okay.
Sheila, would you like to say your background or anything, or just, I think she has a very impressive background and is...
I semi-retired from the city of Maumee in 2012. I was with them from 1979 in the capacity as prosecutor and then assistant law director for 20 years law director there. I've done a lot of work in annexation, joint economic development zones, economic development incentives, plus the usual array of zoning and real property, all the different things that a city and a township both are involved in. All of the state laws that apply to all of us political subdivisions. And I'm interested in this opportunity. I'm also representing Spencer Township currently. And other than that, enjoying my semi-retirement.
Thank you.
Well, we're glad to have you on our team, and I think you'll be a great asset for us. Thank you. I'd like to offer Resolution 14-061, Contract Legal Services with Sheila McAdams.
Second.
Calling the roll, Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
And then my next resolution is the renewal of our insurance policy, and I'll have Susan address that.
Good evening. As you may know, our property casualty insurance expires June 1st. We're currently with the Ohio Plan, and our broker is Stapleton Insurance. Tom Ramsdale, which is our broker, has went out to secure proposals from other insurance companies. He did secure a proposal from Travelers, and I think it is HBC. Both of them declined to give us a quote. They looked at what our premium was last year and knew they could not be competitive. So we are recommending to go back to the Ohio Plan. We've been very happy with their services. The contract this year is $99,795. That's up slightly from last year, but in that period of time, we have added some vehicles, and the biggest change is Fire Station 1. We've added the value of that building. So actually being with the Ohio Plan for 4 years has given us a discount. I think last year our discount was $500 and some, and this year it is $3,400 for being with them for 4 years. So I'm recommending that you approve the resolution 14062.
I'll offer Resolution 14-062, renewal of insurance.
Second.
Mr. Crandall? Yes. Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Thank you.
Next item under the Administrator is a presentation of the Fire Department review. As you know, we've been working on this for a few weeks, and what I have now to hand out to you is what I'll call the final draft. And the reason it's still called a draft is now we are looking for input from the community. We have sent this to the City of Sylvania, the Fire Union, and any community groups that are interested in it. We'd like to hear back from them and hear their input of what they think of this report, or things that are in it, or things that are not in it. We're open to any suggestions. So with that, I would like to pass 3 copies out to you, and then I do have some extra copies here for anybody that wants them. Plus, tomorrow, this will be on our, hopefully tomorrow, will be put up on our website where the community can see it. So with that, I'll pass these out.
John, how long will it be for the community? What would you envision the timing to have the community take a
I'm going to say I'd like it back within 2 weeks.
Okay.
Suggestions from them, and then we'll go over them and revise this, and then it will be the final, instead of having the final draft, it will be the final report that we'll have.
We're developing a list, and you're going to be asked to make some of those contacts, you and I.
Great.
You know who we're talking about. The city is one, I've already started that, but we've got our frequent users, we'll be getting a list from the chief. And so we're all going to take some of them, start making contacts. We consider you community. I don't think officially we've heard back from either John or Neil, so we want your input there too. I know you've seen some drafts as we've been doing this. This is your first chance to...
I noticed that there was some, and I don't want to, I noticed there were some people that did sign up. I think they put under fire.
Al or Carol, would you care to speak at this point?
Sure.
Okay.
Al Hayes, 7040 Whitetail Court. I guess I have a lot of opinions that you've heard, but I just have a few things that I'd like to say. First of all, I think probably part of the problem is we've been fighting this fire department levies and everything for quite a few years. We've passed them. Lately, we haven't. I think, this is my opinion, the school system didn't tell us where that money was going. It was evident what happened. Now we're lashed with them, unless they have a special election, which costs extra money, which will be pointed out. So I guess I have a couple negative things, a little bit. If we've been working these budgets, and they have these budget meetings, I'm telling you, I really have a problem. If you need the money, then we should recognize it. I don't know if we just keep going over and trying to squeeze the potato, or what. But I definitely think we need, on this levy, which apparently we need a levy now. Is that the consensus? I mean, we must know. Somebody must know in this room.
I mean, we're going to be broke next year, so...
Okay, you're going to be broke next year, so let's get that out of the way. We should have seen this coming. Well, we've seen it coming, but we didn't do anything about it, whether it's past administrations or not, okay? That's water behind us, so we need to look to the future. We need to know where that money's going. We've got new fire stations, we've got new trucks, we have all this stuff, okay? So the public is saying, well, wait, is this going for raises for the firemen? I'm not against that, but is that where that money's going? Where is that money going to go? You know, is it going to go for more equipment and stuff? I think you have, in my opinion, if you want to get a levy passed, you better get a lot of people on board. Because the consensus right now of the people I talk to, and a lot of the seniors, and I'm one of them, I hate to admit it, but I'll tell you what, you know, and he's chasing me, I can't get away from it. They need to know what's going on. You know, so, hey, we can argue about, you know, this ladder truck going up and down the road. We can beat all this stuff into the ground. It's not going to help our situation. If we're going to take that money and put it into an ambulance service, so be it. If that's what we decide, or you people decide, let's put it out there. Let's not be afraid to ask for the amount of mills. Does anybody know how many mills the police department gets?
I don't know off the top of my head.
We can certainly get you.
Yeah, but, you know, I remember 30 years ago, and I'm probably dating myself, when his father was the police chief here, we fought hard for levies. And I never heard as much static with the fire department levies and money problems. The police department, they say, well, they get the money. Well, somebody had the foresight to get the money for them. All right? I don't want to see the money wasted, but I want to see where that money's going. In my opinion, I think you have to tell the people.
I'm not talking at you, I'm talking with you. You know, the old saying, show me the money, show me where it's going, you know what I mean? Let's forget the trivial stuff, because the trivial stuff is, you know, that falls off the table. We're gonna stumble over nickels and dimes to pick up, you know, pennies. But let's find out what we really need. And I still have a hard time in my heart and in my mind, all the administrative people, staff that we have here, we can't seem to come up with, hey, we're going to be out of money next year. Duh.
Oh, wait a minute. though.
Okay, go ahead.
When I ran for trustee, I went online, the numbers are there, the 5-year budget. I knew at that time, we had a deficit in 2015. Now, maybe people don't go online. This wasn't a surprise to me. I knew that coming in.
But a month ago, you said we didn't know if we needed a levy.
No.
Didn't you say that in the meeting?
No. No, it's been on, we've had a 5-year.
Yeah, you did.
The need for a levy.
You said you didn't even know if we needed a levy yet.
We don't know that we're not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think maybe you're misinterpreting things, but everybody's known there's a leak
No, I'm
in the
not.
fire levy.
No, I'm not.
Well, there's a 5-year budget. It had a deficit in 2015. The deficit's been reduced quite a bit. It's not as big as the trustees thought, but there's still a deficit in 2015.
Well, I guess we
And
need to
that's
get that
not-
out to the public and not wait till we're out of money.
Well,
If you're going to be
so-
out of money next year, why are, you know, all of a sudden we're doing it this fall?
Yeah, if you don't mind, you've been here for our annual budget meetings, we've been talking about where the money was running, you know, and very publicly where the monies were at and where we were projecting over the last 3 years as to how, I think we've been somewhat forward.
I'm informed because I was here. What I'm trying to say to you, you need to let the rest of the public know that, okay?
I agree.
You know, maybe I hit a sore spot there by saying we should have seen it coming. We seen it coming, but we didn't react. We did react. We squeezed it. We squeezed the turnip, all right? Now we can't squeeze it anymore.
But
We just need to make sure we need that money, that's all I'm saying.
All we're doing right now is saying, what's our direction for the next 5 to 7 years? Now we're asking the fiscal people, including our fiscal officer, tell us how much money this represents.
Yeah.
If you ask for the money first, you're almost saying, we're going to do things the way we've always been doing it. And we decided to take a look at the department and be sure we were identifying the needs.
Well, and that's all I'm saying. Identify the needs. If it's 10 mills or if it's 2 mills, whatever it is, you know, we're going to have to put it out there, or we're going to constantly be chasing our tail. We don't need to fill up the bucket all the way, but I think we need to have some of this.
And then maybe I misunderstood your comment. We did pass the last fire levy. That was in '08, and we haven't. Now that was a third time the effort was made. And I agree with you.
Right, okay.
I agree with you about that, but we did pass, not myself, well, I was on the committee, but we did pass the last fire levy. Now, before that, that's anybody's guess.
We laid off people.
You laid off 3 people, and then in '07, you actually had 3 choices on the ballot. I don't know of a worse way of presenting things to the public. But those are past forward.
That's what I'm saying. All I'm saying is let's get this report and let's find out what the needs are. Where are we going? Do we need, you know, I see on the agenda today about a vehicle. I mean, is this in last year's budget? I don't know, you know. I don't remember. I'm not that detailed on it. I'm just saying we need to get this out, and it shouldn't be that tough to see ahead 5 to 6 years.
I sense you're frustrated. You want to get on with the levy. Maybe we're not moving fast enough for you, but...
No, that's a valid statement there. You're not.
Yeah, I can...
I mean, we need to get this thing rolling and get it out there, because time's away. We're going to have to put it on this fall. Is that correct?
That's certainly been my intention.
I mean, if we have, let's listen, if we have to put a levy on, or if we need a levy, yada, yada, yada,
Yes,
it'd have to be this fall. This fall's not that far away.
yes.
That's all I'm saying, you know, I just gave my opinion again, I'm gonna give it again. If you need to get it out to the public, because I think if you hit them, and they don't have the answers, like some of the people I listened to for the school levy, where was that money going? You know, I didn't hear it, it wasn't publicly out there, and I'm just saying, maybe that's a problem. That's all I wanted to say, I don't wanna...
I'm glad you, thanks for bringing it up, Al. It's keeping us, you know, I'll give you an example. For me personally, you know, a month ago, you brought it up, and, you know, it's got me, okay, I'm in battle mode, it's time to roll, I get it, I'm with you.
Yeah, I'm not in case, I'm just saying, hey, you know, I live here too, I want that fire truck coming when it's my turn, you know, so, you know, but anyway, I thought I'd share that with you.
Now, I think you
all
brought up a
appreciate
couple of good points. I think we're in a very similar situation as the schools. We've got a lot of great things going on in both the school district and the fire, and just, you know, they weren't able to get that levy passed with just going on their merits. And I think people do want to know where the budgets are going, and it certainly made our hill a lot steeper with them putting the levy on it with us. So I do think we've got to really get this thing out there and get in front of the community and get people to support it and understand where the money's going and why it's needed. And, you know, we are definitely going to solicit the help of residents like yourself, and I know Carol's always been an active person with the fire department, and we're going to round up as many people as we can and try to get the positive message out about the department and where these funds are going for and how much we need. And that's kind of what I'm waiting for too, because I don't know enough about fire to really forecast what the budget's going to be. I mean, I can certainly look at the numbers and see the number getting smaller each year we go out, and I know next year it ends in the red. So we've got to do something, we've got to do something fast.
That's all I'm afraid of. I don't want to see it go down because we didn't do the right thing, any one of us,
Yeah.
and then really be in a catch-22. I was at that meeting when you had to let them go.
I was too.
I seen the, you know, the dedication. I felt bad for them people, you know? But I think that made this department stronger and more adverse to watching the money and the overtime and the beating on it and beating on it. And I think you see great improvements. How many times has the chief been up here? And as I said, you've made the budget, you've tightened it up, you hit the numbers. But you can only do that so much. I mean, you can only squeeze so much. Okay, enough said.
Thank you.
Thank you, Al.
Thanks, Al. Carol?
When John can get the information, I too would like to know the effective millage for the police versus the fire department. And no disrespect to the police, but you guys have, you know, that's one thing I learned working on the previous levies. They've always been better funded. They just haven't, they've had perhaps more levies than what had been asked for the fire department. And we could never understand exactly why the fire department, you know, it goes back into history. Years
I don't think
before-
their budgets are that much different. I mean, you know,
Well,
I
and
think they're
that's
within
what-
100,000 or so. I mean, I don't, so.
The levies are different.
Well, yeah.
Police levy goes back to...
I mean, but levies,
Yeah.
to me, it comes down to a fiscal dollar budget.
And that's just kind of what I'd like, you know, we'd like to see.
I think what you're meaning is they've been more frequent with the fire department.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
That's a correct statement.
But I also think that, you know, we need to make the case to the public, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but you've had very small or no raises for the past several years.
That's an inaccurate statement.
Okay?
I mean, up until this year, they had a Me Too clause in their contract, so they got every raise that the police did, even though their budgets were different.
The fire department?
This year, they did not get a raise, but up until this year, that is a false statement.
Okay, I'm just...
That's interesting, no, isn't it?
1.5?
I don't know. We didn't get, I don't know. I'd have to get you the records.
Okay.
Our effective millage is 4.9.
4.9, okay. And I think, did the report show that the comparison to some of the other departments? That was, some of the other departments were higher, weren't they, in the effective millage? Yeah.
You see that draft report, Carol, it's in that report.
Yeah.
When you can get a copy of it, and there's some good numbers in there.
I've got a copy. The city put it out on their website. And speaking of the city, they're having a safety meeting, committee meeting, May 30th to discuss this. And you might want to let them know what your timing is when you want to hear back from them, because I think they were pretty iffy.
Carol, we've already communicated.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Well, I just feel that we ought to make a good case of exactly where the money's gone, what the raises have been. They've been fairly minimal. Would you?
I think they've been industry standard. I mean, I don't know of anybody who's gotten 5-6% raises. I mean, those days are over.
Right.
For all of us, private sector, public sector. I mean, anytime there's a raise in any jurisdiction in the county, it's usually in the blade, and I keep tabs of them, and, I think we've been right in there with most of them.
Okay. My point being, they haven't been getting excessive.
No.
Okay. Exactly where it's going and why more is needed now. Because we promised the public with a 1.25 levy that it would last 5 years. You're making it last at least 7, The good things that have been done so that, that they will be receptive. And what they really provide to the community as far as the EMS service is beyond belief what they're doing, taking people straight into a cath lab rather than going into the ER and so forth. I think if we make those points to the community, we'll have a much better, and if we get, we get people on board, the community leaders, we will be much better off and hopefully can pass it.
Well, Carol, in the past, I was here, part of that, and some of you were, it's really important, and one of the reasons the fire department struggled with the last few levies is the trustees always weren't always exactly on board, and it's important. But I think the report that we're doing is helping all of the trustees and the fiscal officer understand what we've done with the money, what we plan to do with the money, what we're trying to kind of get, and we're educating ourselves because trustees come and trustees go, and fiscal officers come and go, and there are other people though that are here in the community, like a Bruce Worm sitting there and Al, that have been around a long time and tons of history, and they know, and we're making sure that we're getting ourselves up to speed so that we can be advocates for the levy and all be on the same page. And sometimes with governments, they're herky-jerky on kind of how you get there, but we're getting there, and this report's good, and it helps us so that we can go out and articulate to groups, when it's time, and we have the facts and can explain to people, and that way, we're well educated ourselves, along with community groups. You really have to be involved in these things to make it go, but we're trying to work together to get a good unified front, I think, to get out there, because that helps ensure success, and like Al's saying, hits the specifics as to what we've done. That's in that report, and we'll hopefully get it in the media and what we've been doing with our money. I think we've been myself, as I've watched it, the trustees have been pretty good stewards. That we were hoping that the levy would last 5 years, and that was the goal. And we've managed, with the trustees' efforts and John and the fire department, to really, make that thing go for a longer time. But you do need money to run something like this, because we have people come to us for their training for our fire department. I mean, we have one of the premier fire department, I think, in this whole Northwest Ohio. But frankly, it does take money to run it, to keep these guys trained, and so we're working to do that.
Well, absolutely, and that's the case that we need to make. And your point about the former trustees, I mean, we wouldn't have had to have a levy in 2007 and then put it back on in 2008 if the former trustees had put it on in the first place, which the public begged them to do. And the public then had to go out and actually put the levy on the ballot themselves and fight to get the money for the fire department. So, you know, we're certainly grateful that the current trustees understand the situation and are willing to work to get a levy passed.
But Carol, we'll still be, I think the difference is, hopefully, this time we'll have the trustees, the citizens committee.
Absolutely.
And the community, all, that's what we're trying to do here.
Yeah, absolutely.
is
And
reach a
this,
consensus
you know, this report
on
is great.
What does we need for the department, and then how much money is that going to be?
Sure.
And we're getting there. I sense the speed is maybe not as quick as you and Al would like, but believe me, that's what we're trying to do.
No, I think that you have done a great job with this report. I've read it, and, you know, I think that it's great and that we're definitely on the right track. I just think that, you know, we've got to get the public to know these things too.
I would like to point out a couple of things too here. You know, we're in this position right now because of loss of revenue. I mean, our revenue down for the department is, you know, I think we're down over $1 million a year or more. And, you know, that's due to the decrease in property values out here and decrease of state funding. And so, you know, we could have stretched this another couple years had that funding not been decreased. But I do think, you know, I don't think the schools could have had a better time for a levy with a state hockey championship and mock trial championships, and they just had all sorts of accolades, and, you know, they did a great job. And I think that people in our community are, you know, they're kind of stretched thin in their own personal budgets and are kind of struggling and are voting against these things, even with as much good as, you know, they provide to the community. So, again, I'm looking at a really uphill battle. And the only chance we have is if we really get out there and prove to people where this money's going, why it's needed, and you know, the administration and the department is going to be good stewards of the people's money. And until you really show them that, you know, this is what we're doing, this is our success rate, I think people are going to be leery. So we've got a lot to do in 6 months. You know, but I hope everybody's on board, and we're going to try and get this thing done.
Well, I think we're certainly on the same page.
Thanks, Carol.
Thanks, Carol.
Thank you.
Was that all the signatures?
Yes. Anyone else have any? Okay.
All right, next up is the fiscal officer, Mr. Simcoe.
Well, we have our April 2014 financial statements, and it's actually a little boring to read, I guess. Our expenses are where we kind of projected them to be. We're holding the line on our expenses again in all the departments, and our revenues are really where we have anticipated or projected them to be. So there's really not much more to really say there. It's going along. It's starting to take a little shape, you know, as we get into the fourth month, and we're on track here. And so we're happy about that. If you don't have any questions on that, I'll just move right to these resolutions. We have a resolution.
Dave, if I could, I'd just like to compliment the road department. You know, we say everything looks good. We didn't have that winter in there. So what does it mean? It means we got to cut back, take care of that salt. So, Greg, we appreciate you keeping things in line.
Yeah, that was tough this winter, you know, and we've been.
If you lived in the city of Toledo, you'd be getting an assessment 2 years from now. They don't cut back.
Well, sadly, their roads, if we all drive in Toledo, and sadly, they keep raiding that capital improvement fund,
Yep.
and they're not really repairing their roads, and it's going to become a nightmare. It's already bad, sad, really.
I think
Anyway,
Greg's
thanks,
previous work in the past 2 years has really put us in this position. You know, we were way under budget the last 2 years, and we've saved quite a bit of money. And
Thanks to the Ohio Public Works.
All right,
We're done.
Okay. Well, I've got this resolution 14-055. It's a transfer appropriations, and you can see the items that are right up here. We're moving a little bit of money around to vehicle maintenance and parts, not a real lot, but some, about $11,000. To try to, and it's kind of addressing the things that John, was talking about.
I'll offer Resolution 14-055, transfer appropriations.
Second?
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
And then I have Resolution 14-056, and, you're familiar with this. When we have a grant, we have to pay for things first, and then we get reimbursed, and that's what this is, bulletproof vests for, in our police department.
I'll offer Resolution 14-056, advance of funds.
Second?
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Then I have Resolution 14-057, and this is a resolution regarding approval of, the trustees approved police union contract, and then also increases in non-union wage. And there's also in the road and bridge fund, there's a lot of things in there, as you can see. But the larger ones had to do with, I think there was some wage increases. But that was negotiated, and we supported the contract.
I'll move approval of Resolution 14057, increase appropriations from unencumbered balances.
Second?
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
And then I have last one is Resolution 14058, and it's reduce appropriations in various accounts, and due to a change in anticipated grants, the following is needed to limit what we can really spend in these things. We try to keep our limits tight, so we don't have just a lot of money washing around in accounts. We're trying to move it around where it's really needed, but don't have it just there as excess funds just to find a way to spend it.
Offer Resolution 14-058, reduction in appropriations.
Second?
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
And that is all I have.
Okay. Open discussion, do we have any items?
I just have one thing. I'd like the other board members to be aware we had a call from a city resident that had an access problem with the city, trying to build a house, and Dave and I met with them, got it resolved. So just wanted you two to be aware.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hearing of the public on non-agenda items,
There
did
was
anyone
none?
sign in?
And then I have the addition of the executive session.
I would like to
And
offer,
it's also as informed as for possible pending or imminent litigation. I have to add that second term in there.
I would like to offer a motion to go into executive session at 6:53 to discuss pending or imminent court action as authorized by the Ohio Revised Code 121.22.
Second?
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Going here.
All right, I'd like to offer a motion to come out of executive session at 7:44.
Second?
Second.
Okay, Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes. Then I would like to offer a motion to adjourn at 7:45.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Genowine, Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
And no action will be taken.
We already adjourned, it's too late.
Nice Memorial Day Monday.
All right. Hey, everybody.